Hello and welcome to this new lecture on core components. In this lecture, we'll cover a simple technique to create manually the entire structure of our app.js file. This lecture is intended for those who are unfamiliar with React, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Also, several fundamental JavaScript ideas will be explained. So basically, these lectures are optional. And of course, if you're familiar with React, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then you can skip them. Alright, so let's first clarify what import means and where the data is loaded into the app.js file. Import signifies that the library has been installed, as well as everything else, status bar, style sheet, etc. The installed library is used to import all text, views, and other data. When you examine the package.json file, you can see that the React and React Native dependencies have been installed. When you install a dependent, all the files related to that dependency are also placed in the package.json file, just as all the files related to node modules are stored in the node modules file. Thus, whenever you wish to install something in a file that is related to a library that's installed, you must import it into the file first. If you remove the style sheet from the import and save the file, you can see that the app.js file's style sheet is now imported from the React Native library. The program will encounter an error because the property style sheet is missing. Therefore, if you wish to use anything connected to libraries, you must import a library. Flex, color, background color, alignments, and other styling elements are used in style sheets. Now, if you go back and undo the style sheet import, remove the content, save the file, then open the application, an issue will occur once more. To fix that, import text and save the file. The error will be fixed automatically. So the key thing here is that you must import a library. If you wish to use anything library related, just go to the React Native website now, then open the native and core components. And if you're new to React Native, you wouldn't know anything about the interface, but if you're familiar with web development, you'll notice that these concepts are related. Okay, so the following 5 components need to be used if you wish to work with React Native. View, text, image, scroll view, text input. Accessibility controls, style, flexbox layout, and some touch handlings are all supported by the container known as view. It denotes that container is the view tag used in app.js. You should see that blue is used in styles, yet it's not working since blue cannot be applied to a container. The text will be colored blue. Hence, the view component comes first. You can add any element that's contained in a container to this component. Use a text element or component if you wish to contribute something in text format. Text component displays text styling, text nesting, and touch event handling. Okay, so use the image component if you wish to add one picture or a variety of images to your application. Alright, so use the scroll view element to add the scroll function to your application. The scroll view tag is a scrolling container that can hold a variety of views and components. You can add a text input component while adding text to a text input form. Users can enter text using text input. If you have additional app development frameworks or programming languages installed, such as Flutter, which is frequently used in opposition to Respond Native. So in Flutter, you'll have to use the view group component instead of the view component while working on Android. And you have to use the UI view instead of view when working on iOS. But one advantage of React Native is that you can use the view component when creating apps for both Android and iOS. Okay, again, in Flutter, when there is a text component on Android, you must use the text view component instead of the text component. And on iOS, you must use the UI text view component instead of the text component. But another advantage of React Native is that you can use the text component for both the creation of Android and iOS apps. So if you want to use an image component in an Android or iOS application, the same principle will be used. They also used examples here to clarify this concept. However, you'll be given a step-by-step explanation of it in a following lecture, as the goal of this current one is to give you just an overview of all the components that will be used in React Native. Okay, so if all the components were presented realistically, then this lecture would be very long. It's like the goal is just, to give you a quick overview about like the essential ones. And, like in the following lecture, we'll explain how these components actually work in detail. But for now, that's pretty much it. So let's move on.